Okay, welcome back to another recording where we can look at another example of how we can complete activity 6b or complete the second form required on activity 6 of the Unit 2 Databases unit, also known as the Unit 2 Creating Systems to Manage Information unit, which is part of the BTech IT course. So they want you to create an input form to analyze meter readings. They tell you the form must not include validation for any fields. It must not include any automated routines to save the data. Now, what I don't like, so I did indicate on my video where I showed you how to complete the first form for activity 6, which was showing you how to complete activity 6a. I told you I'd only do one example because the skill required is similar across all the different papers. Now for B, it's a completely different skill, and what makes it worse, they don't really include in the book how to do this activity for 6B. So I do feel for the students, when they put comments like this. It was disappointing to see that several learners did not attempt this form at all. Well, maybe it would help if you put the information in the book. Anyway, we're going to create this form. So this will be completely different from the first example that you saw in the last video. If you watched the first example, this example, we're not going to be using any subforms at all. Okay. So the first thing we do, as always, you go to create blank form and you save the name of the form before you start to do anything. Activity 6b. Alright, I'll put these side by side. Here we go. So we'll put our title and then we'll put the instructions based on what we want our user to do. So a title based on what the form is going to do. So yeah, meter readings analysis, because it says an input form to analyze meter readings. So I do think that is an appropriate title. I'll make this into a title and then I'll add my instructions. Instructions. I'll change this to 11. I don't need this to be bold. Yep, normal's fine with me. So instructions. Please complete the fields with an asterisk, to view the meter readings analysis. Okay, I think those instructions are very explanatory. Here we go. So there must be a combo box to select a machine ID. Okay, so here they make it nice and clear. We look for the combo box icon. Here we go. And we'll get the machine ID from the machine ID table. Okay, we'll click on finish. There we go. I'm going to rename this to machine reading dash input. So always remember to rename the boxes where the user would type in input. So machine reading, machine ID dash input. For the selected machine, the user inputs the week beginning date, the meter reading, the money collected. Now if you look at this table, this already has week beginning, the machine reading, the money collected. So we're not taking it from this table because they made it clear. For the selected machine, the user is going to input the week beginning date, the meter reading, and the money collected. So we're going to add text boxes to allow the user to be able to do this. So this is the text box. So we need 1, 2, 3 different text boxes. This one will be money collected. This will be meter reading, and this one will be week beginning. Week beginning date, not data or data. Right, the information for that machine must be generated and displayed on the form. The highest meter reading stored in the table for that machine, which is the most recent reading. Okay, so what are they saying here? What they're saying is if I select this machine ID, it should show me what is the highest recorded meter reading for this machine. So if we go on this table here, 902, the highest meter reading is 4,200. So they want that information to show over here. They want us to calculate the number of drinks sold. So we'll start adding that stuff in. So we'll add another text box. This will be highest reading. So this one, so the ones where the user has to type something, we're going to make these bold. Font weight, maybe semi-bold. There we go. To make it clear to the user that this is where you need to type in something. And remember, we still need to provide the asterisk for where we want the user to do something. Highest reading, that will be automatically done based on the machine ID they selected. So the user doesn't have to do anything there. And I change the color to red. There we go. Perfect. So highest reading, number of drinks sold, number of drinks. In fact, I'm just gonna do this. Wait for I do this. There we go. Number of drinks sold, the amount of money expected, money expected, and I'm going to create the last box, which will be engineer status. Okay, this is where we are, folks. So based on the machine ID that the user would have selected, the user will type in this stuff, the week beginning date, meter reading, money collected. Based on the machine ID selected, they want us to display the highest meter reading, calculate the number of drinks sold, then calculate the amount of money expected based on the number of drinks sold. Then we'll indicate the engineer status. Here it says the words "core engineer" should appear if the money collected is less than the money expected by more than £10. Basically, they're saying if £260 was the money expected and money collected was £200, that's a difference of £60. This box needs to say core engineer if it's more than £10, if the difference between the expected and the money collected is more than £10. So okay, so we can yes, I wanted to change this to make it bold to match everything else. Here we go. That's not matching everything else. There we go. So to display the highest reading for the machine, we're going to create a query that's going to take all the readings from this table and only show us the highest for each machine ID. So we'll go to create query design, and naming convention for queries is QRY. QRY machine. I'm a bit lazy, I should have put machine readings really. So I'll add the machine table. We add machine reading. We add it again. We click on the totals tab and we want the max reading. Yeah. So if we click run, it's going to take the machine. Sorry. We want the machine ID. So you only take the max value for each machine ID. So if you remember, for this one, 4002 is correct. Now I'm going to rename this field. So instead of max of machine reading, I'm going to rename it so it says highest reading. And I will show you how I named that in Notepad. So this was before I named my column. So I put my cursor before the first letter, then I would have started to type the name of my column without any spaces like so. Okay, so if I now click run, highest reading, this is what we now have. We save our query and we can close it. So now we can click this input box, go to form layout design, go to property sheet, then go to the data tab, go to control source. Now you're going to use this new thing. Oh, you can zoom in over here. That's cool. I didn't know that before. That would have really helped. So we go to control source. We're going to zoom in. We're going to use this new formula called dlookup. So expression is where you indicate the field that you want to show from your query. So ours, we named it the highest reading. Okay, that's what we named ours, highest reading. Next thing, domain is me putting the name of the query. So I named mine QRY-machine. Comma, the criteria. So we wanted to get the highest reading from the query where it matches the machine ID on our form. That's what we want to do. So I'm going to save this for now. You see, so right now it shows 1833, which I think is the first reading. It's not the first reading, it's the highest one for this machine ID. However, if we try to change the form, you see it doesn't change. So we want it to change based on the machine ID that we would have selected. So if we go back to design view, so what did I name this box? I named it machine ID dash input. So I go back to here where we were. Maybe I'll go back to layout view so things are not as complicated as they already are. So I'm back in control source. Okay, so criteria is going to be, I put my speech marks, the criteria is going to be the name of the field on my query, so machine ID. I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. So I'll click OK for now. So when I go to my query, so we're trying to set the criteria. We're trying to say if this field called machine ID on our query is equal to this field called machine ID dash input on our form. Yeah, so we're back here. So I put the ampersand sign, then I can type forms exclamation mark, then it will show the names of the different forms that you have. You select the correct one, then if I type in exclamation mark again, I'm looking for machine ID dash input, and that is how you do it, folks. So I'm just going to put this into Notepad. I think it will come out a bit better, just a little bit better. Right. So this is the name. This is what we named our field on our query that's saving the highest reading. Domain, this is the name of the query. And this is the criteria. The first part of the criteria, it will compare the field on our query called machine ID. It will compare it to the machine ID input box on our form. You have to put that ampersand sign. Okay, that's all I've done here. So I'll click OK. I'll click save. So now the table, I'm going to try this table. We know our highest reading is 4,200. So I'm going to go to form view and select that machine ID. Okay, and it shows error. So we can correct this. So we go to layout, we go back to control source. And the thing I forgot to put was here the equal sign. Yep, it was that simple. We click OK, we click save, we go back to form view. So if I select the machine ID, it shows 4,200. Okay, so I'll go back to Notepad. So what I was missing on our criteria part, I'm going to get rid of this part for now. So we had machine ID, which is on our query, but what I was missing is the equal sign. So it should have been machine ID equals to closing speech mark and the machine ID input on our form that we've created. Okay, that's all that was missing. So now how do we calculate the number of drinks sold? You need to read the scenario. If you read the scenario, each machine has a meter that counts how many drinks are purchased. Once a week, a meter reading and the money collected are recorded from each machine. At this point, we don't yet know how we calculate the number of drinks sold. The meter reading is compared to the most recent reading stored to calculate how many drinks have been sold. So how are we calculating how many drinks were sold? We're calculating the highest reading, which is the most recent reading of the machine, against the meter reading that the user is going to provide here. And we're going to do subtraction. So we'll do highest reading minus whatever highest reading is entered on here. So for example, if the user types in 4,100, it's going to do 4,200 minus 4,100, and the number of drinks sold will be what? 100. So we'll go to layout view. First, we're going to rename our boxes that we created because we haven't done that. So this box, instead of text 40, I name it max reading. I'm not going to name it input box because the user's not actually typing anything in there. This one I'll name it drinks sold. This one I'll name it money expected. This one I'll name it status. Yep, it's lazy. It's okay. Deal with it. There we go. I'm going to save this. So meter reading, this is what the user's going to type in. So we rename this to meter reading dash input. This one week dash input. This one money collected dash input. So number of drinks sold, we go to data, we go to control source. So as I said before, it's going to be highest reading, or max reading rather. max reading, which is this one, which is displaying our highest reading. It's going to be max reading minus whatever meeting reading the user has provided. So amount of money expected on the scenario they mention is £1.20 for a drink. So it's going to be £1.20 times whatever values in this box, which indicates the number of drinks sold. So we go to data, we go to control source. So it's going to be, I'm going to do format currency first. Format currency. So format currency will format whatever value we have after our calculation to a currency. So it's going to be drinks sold times 1.2, and we want it to round by 2 digits. Click on OK. So I'll do this one last. So I'll click save over here. If I go to form view and I select this one again. So if I select 24 April 2022, meter reading, if I type in 4,100, the number of drinks sold is what? Is 100. So money collected, the idea is if I type 100, this box is going to put out core engineer, because the difference between money collected and expected money is greater than 10. That's what we now need to do. First, I'll change this data type on format and change it to currency. So we go here, we go to data, and we go to control source. Here we'll use the classic if function. So if, we're going to do a bit of bid mass, if money expected minus money collected is greater than 10, meaning after we've taken away the money that was collected as indicated by the user, if we take that away from how much was expected, if whatever is left is greater than 10, our status needs to be called the engineer. So money expected minus money collected. So like here, money collected, they've entered 100. So we'll take away 100 from 120, which will leave us with 20. So we'll put our closing bracket. So if this is greater than 20, true part, call engineer, comma, engineer not required. So this is if it's false. So if money expected minus money collected is greater than 10, if that's true, call an engineer. Otherwise, engineer not required. So we click on save. So if we test this out again, meter reading 4,100. So money required, if I put 100, it says to call an engineer because that is greater than 10. If I type in 120, engineer not required. If I type in 110, it should still say engineer not required. If I type in 109, it should now say call the engineer. And folks, that is how you complete this example of activity 6b. Okay, I'll do another video that will show you a different example on how you can complete activity 6b, and I'll catch you on the next one.